This live video is going to be about the learning habits that you can develop to make your practice a success. I am running a new program right now. It's a new intensive program with 3 native speaking coaches and myself. It's very intense. We work 4 hours a day. People have homework. People have their personal practice routine. And what I tell them is that they need to learn more effectively. And I want to share the same message with you, because the more I talk about it, the more I realize how new these ideas are to people and how important they are. If you are currently taking a course, an online course, if you attend webinars, workshops, even if you work with your therapist on a regular basis, these tips can help you make your practice a success. I have 4 habits that I feel we need to talk about. And let's jump right into it. The reason I'm sharing this is that I don't want you to feel helpless. A lot of people feel that working with a coach is effective. It's not like they feel it, they know that working with a personal coach is more effective than working on their own. However, I always tell people that they need a coach so that one day they do not need a coach. Use your time with the coach effectively so that during the time with the coach, you explore the strategies that can help you continue your practice on your own without the coach. It doesn't mean you never get to see your coach again. It doesn't mean you never get to receive feedback again. It doesn't mean that. You will always receive support. You can still get feedback from somebody who knows better, from somebody who can help you see what you don't see. However, you need to be able to find room for your practice in your day without the help of the coach. And it shouldn't feel like you have no idea what needs to be done. I'm going to bring this example with a personal fitness trainer one more time. Maybe you can identify with this person, or maybe you have seen such people in the gym. Let's say you decided to finally get in shape. That's your decision. And you think it's more effective to hire a personal trainer than to go to the gym alone. So you do that. You hire a personal trainer, and every workout in the gym is a workout with a personal trainer. And let's say you've done it for a year, and then for whatever reason, your coach cancels the class, or they go on vacation, or they say, sorry, I'm fully booked, I can't work with you any longer, or my rate has gone up and you can't afford this coach anymore, or they get sick, or anything. One day, your coach can't coach you any longer. What I see so many people do is that they tell themselves, okay, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've been working out for a year. I know what I'm doing. Doesn't matter. Yeah, with or without a coach, I'm going to stick to working out. They go to the gym. They know where the gym is. They've been there many times. And then they stand amidst the room, amidst all this equipment, not knowing where to begin, what to do, what machines to use, how many repetitions they're supposed to do, how long their cardio should be. They have no idea. They feel so helpless in the middle of the gym, not knowing what to do. And we don't want this to happen to you. That's why I want to share these habits. To summarize the strategy that so many people apply when they decide to work with a personal trainer or when they decide to hire a coach is they tell themselves, I'm going to pay my coach. I'm going to show up when it's time for our class or for our session, and I'm just going to hope that it's going to work. People pay very expensive coaches hoping that something is going to change. If you have found a really good coach, if you have booked a fantastic trainer, that's awesome, but you also need to do your part. And this video is about this. It's about the strategies you can apply. This video is about the things you do. The coach will do their job, but you need to do your part too. And it mostly applies to online learning. As I said, if you learn online, here's what you do. All these habits are about managing your time, because the most common feedback I get from people is that I spend 2 hours with the coach. Let's say the session is 2 hours long, and now I need to go and work. or now I need to go and cook dinner, or I have other things to do. So when do I find room for the exercises? When do I do my practice? It's already taken me 2 hours. How do I find more time? Because when I sit down to do my practice, I feel like that person in the middle of the gym. I don't know when to begin. I don't know what exactly I should be doing. Even if I have a plan, it still feels difficult. So how to manage your time? You can hire as many personal coaches as you want to. They cannot do your work. The first advice I would give is prioritize. If you trust your coach, and if you're learning a new skill with a coach, prioritize their feedback. So what they tell you to do is number 1. What you think you could do is number 2. Let me give you an example. When our accent coach listens to the people in the group, he tells them, look, I can hear many issues, but here are the top 3 things that you should fix right now. Because if you fix these 3 things, let's say if you start working on your schwa, if you learn the difference between bad and bed, if you start pronouncing voiced consonants at the end of words, if I start hearing bad when you say bad, when you mean bad and not bet, you mean to say had, but I hear hat, and these are 2 different words, had and hat. So he says, if you work on these 3 things, you will immediately sound a lot clearer and a lot better. You will immediately elevate your skills. I would listen to the coach, because that's why I need the coach. I need feedback. I need to understand the things that I don't see. You will always choose the things that are easy for you to practice. So you might think, oh, it's a good idea for me to read a passage every day. But what happens is that you read this passage every day exactly the same way you read it every day. And that's not practice. You repeat the same thing you already know how to do. But your coach is challenging you to do things differently. Every day you need to put in effort and do habitual things, the things that you think you know, but he's challenging you to do those things again and again, but differently. It feels very unusual. It feels difficult. It doesn't feel comfortable at all. But if your practice feels comfortable, you're doing something wrong. Your practice should feel not very comfortable, because you're teaching your muscles to move differently. You're rewiring your autopilot. That's difficult. You think you already know this stuff. But instead of learning a new thing, what a coach will challenge you to do is to unlearn the things that you think you already know. You know them, but you've been doing them incorrectly for way too long and you're stuck on them. So you need to learn to do these things correctly. Finally, learn to do them correctly. Finally, learn to pronounce this word correctly. Finally, get the difference between bad and bed. That's why prioritize the things that your coach tells you to do. It's going to take you less time. You're not going to have these questions on your mind anymore. What should I do now? You will have a very specific list of exercises that you need to do and a very specific list of skills that you should be practicing after each class. Prioritize the things that your coach is asking you to practice. And then, after you've done those things, you can add the exercises that you want to do. Another example is this. I spoke with my student today, and I gave everyone, including him, a personal practice routine for the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to change it now so that he has a new practice plan for the Christmas week. His feedback for me was that this practice routine feels difficult, and I gave him 4 exercises that he's supposed to be doing on a daily basis, and his practice routine should take him no longer than 30 minutes. And he says, I love exercise number 1, I understand exercise number 2, I have no objections here, I know what I need to be doing, but exercise number 3, which is self-correction, the most important exercise for him, he said, I don't really, I don't feel like doing this exercise, so maybe I can do it after the program is over. And I'm like, no, that's the most important exercise for you, because if you don't do it right now, nothing will actually change after the program is over. And what we want to see is we want to see some change happening by the end of the program. And turns out he didn't understand how to do the exercise, and he didn't understand the importance of the exercise. His idea was that, this is what he told me, I'm gonna do my grammar exercises, I'm gonna do my pronunciation practice, and I'm gonna master my self-presentation, because there are a number of stories that I want to master so that I'm able to tell them to my business partners or to my new clients. And how about I practice those stories? I read them aloud again and again, and I really master these stories during the Christmas week. My response to him was this: if you read the same story again and again, with the same pronunciation and with the same mistakes that you're making today, you're going to internalize your bad habits even more. This is what's going to happen. And the second thing is that you're going to practice prepared speech. He wants to do that because it's easy for him to do. But what I want him to practice is a spontaneous speech, which is way more difficult. And I want him to do self-correction so that he is more attentive to himself and to other people in spontaneous conversations. What he wants to do instead is he wants to know exactly the words he's going to say. He wants to memorize every sentence he needs to say. That's also a good exercise. I mean, delivering a presentation, it's something we need to do, and you have to prepare your presentation to be able to deliver it very well. But it doesn't help you in spontaneous conversations. It doesn't help you at all. Then what's the point? What's the point of doing this exercise if you have a completely different goal? He actually needs to do what I see he needs to do, not what he wants to do, because we all want to do the things that we know how to do. So that's habit number one. Listen to your coach and do what they say you should do. Now, habit number two. Everybody asks me the same question: how long should every exercise take me? When I create practice routine for every student, I ask them, how much time do you have during the day? And people tell me I have 20 minutes, I have 30 minutes, I have 35 minutes. I say, okay, here are 2 exercises for you or 3 exercises for you, and they're supposed to take you no more than 30 minutes a day. Now you go and do these exercises and come back to me with feedback. I think they're supposed to take you 30 minutes. How long do they actually take you? The second habit is always time yourself. You sit down to do your exercise, you start the timer. You finish the exercise, you stop the timer. As simple as that. A lot of people overthink this. They think about the exercise, and before they even tried, before they even started, they're already suffering and telling themselves the story that it's going to take way too long. They say, I don't have 2 hours, but they haven't even tried. They have no idea how long it actually takes. So sit down, start the timer, do your exercise, stop the timer. Let's say you timed yourself and the exercise has taken you 40 minutes. If you're happy with this number and you love the result and you love the exercise, that's fine. That's very good. But if you're not happy with the result, or if you're not happy with how you used your time, or you don't have 40 minutes every day, you ask yourself, can I do the same in 20 minutes? So that's the habit. You do the things that your coach is asking you to do. You time yourself, and then you reflect on the result and you analyze it. And you ask yourself, do I stick with it? Or can I do the same faster? If you practice the same thing regularly, you will be able to do it faster. What takes you 40 minutes today will eventually take you 10 minutes or even 5 minutes after you've practiced enough times. But sometimes people do the things that are not really necessary. For example, they do 45 iterations before they send the final recording to their coach. You don't really need to do that, because we're not aiming at perfection when you're learning something. And again, if you repeat something incorrectly 45 times, all you're going to do is you're going to internalize your bad habits and your mistakes. So maybe you can cut down on the number of iterations. Maybe if you're working, let's say if you're working on your rhythm or on your flow, and if you're doing the reading exercise, maybe you shouldn't read a page. Maybe at this point it's enough for you to read a paragraph. If you're reading a paragraph and it's taking you 40 minutes to find all the thought chunks, to find all the words that you're supposed to stress, to look at the pitch pattern, to read it out loud a few times, to check out the words, then maybe you should read just 1 sentence. And that's fine too. You can work with a quote. A quote is usually 1 sentence, which is quite profound. It communicates one very clear idea. And why not? You can work with a quote. This will take less time, but the quality of your result will be the same. It's not going to take away from the quality of your work. So consider doing this. You need to sit down and reflect on what you've done, because most people hope that something is going to change just because they did what they were asked to do, and they hope that things will miraculously unfold and change themselves. No, you actually have to plan your time, manage your time, evaluate your time. Plan, monitor, evaluate. These are the 3 metacognitive strategies that will help you become a better learner, and you can apply them to anything. I'm asking you to apply them to your time. Your coach doesn't know what your day looks like. Your coach doesn't know how much energy you have throughout the day. He or she doesn't know how you feel in the morning or when you choose to do this exercise. So there are a lot of things your coach doesn't know, and it's not their job to know you better than you should know yourself. That's why you should always self-evaluate. Okay, it took me 20 minutes. Am I happy? Or it took me 40 minutes. How can I do the same exercise so that it takes me 20 minutes or 15 minutes without losing the quality of the work, without sacrificing the result? I still want to improve my skill. Can I do it in 20 minutes? And usually the answer is yes, you can. You can absolutely adapt every exercise so that it agrees with your lifestyle and your personality. The next habit is you take immediate action. What does it mean? If you're trying to improve your language skills or whatever training, coaching program you're doing right now, I highly recommend that you do what needs to be done in the first 10 minutes after the session is over. Let's say the class is over and you have some thoughts about the class, write them down in the first 10 minutes. You had an accent training class and your coach gave you feedback. Oh, this word needs correction. You need to work on this word. You need to work on your schwa. You absolutely need to be taking notes during the class. And then in the first 10 minutes after the class is over, you work on these words. You do the most important things in the first 10 minutes. What are these important things? Saying the words out loud. The words, not just any words, but the words that you need to learn to say differently. If this is the pronunciation thing, you want to repeat these words out loud a few times immediately after the session is over. If you're working on being clear and concise, summarize the session in the first 10 minutes after the session is over. You don't have to summarize the class. You don't have to say, oh, this is what happened first. First we did this, then we did that, and this is how the session ended. That's not the point. Focus on summarizing your takeaways. Summarize your thoughts about the class. Focus on communicating what you have learned during this class. And make sure it's a concise, complete sentence. Because a lot of times we have a lot of ideas, but we have no idea how to communicate our ideas and how to say them in such a way that others understand what we mean, especially when we need to communicate our ideas in a foreign language. What else can you do in the first 10 minutes after the class? What I like to do is I write down my thoughts, I say the words out loud, I do the self-correction practice. Sometimes it's the pronunciation thing. I need to learn to pronounce certain things differently. Sometimes my coach will tell me that, hey, pay attention to how you use this word. It is usually used in a different context. And if I really see what my coach means, I will go and check this word on Youglish. I will check it in the Corpus of Contemporary American English. I will look at more examples with this word so that I really see what my coach means to say and what he or she tries to show me. And I go like, oh, wow, now I see that. I didn't see that before. If you have been practicing telling a story, especially if it's a story about yourself in class, and you feel like you haven't created a story, I mean, it doesn't really sound like a complete story yet because you haven't had enough time to do the whole thing. After the class is over, in the first 10 minutes, repeat what you remember. Repeat the things that you have practiced. Tell your story again out loud, even if it's incomplete. Very often, we come up with great ideas during the class. Our coach helps us find the opening sentence. Our coach helps us work on the transitions between paragraphs. Our coach can help us find a really good punchline. In the first 10 minutes, if the class was interesting and if you were doing something important, you're still in it, and everything you're going to do in the first 10 minutes is going to stick with you. Trust me, if you leave the session and you don't do anything and you go and do something else, and then 3 days later you remember that, oh, I have homework to do, and you go back to your notes, and you will find that watching the replay of the class is it's boring. I don't really like the idea of watching the entire replay. It's another hour of my time, and you will have forgotten many great ideas that you had during the class. But if you simply vocalize and verbalize those ideas right after the class, even if your coach is not listening any longer, even if they have left the meeting, but if you say these ideas out loud to yourself, because thinking out loud is another great habit, especially in a foreign language, again, these ideas are going to stick with you. If you're trying to learn to use new phrases, or if you're trying to replace the phrases that you usually use with more natural sounding expressions, repeating them out loud and using them when you're trying to express your thoughts and your feelings and emotions, and you're trying to communicate your insights, is incredibly useful. Do this in the first 10 minutes after the class. Otherwise, when you remember that you have homework to do and you come back to your notes, it's going to feel like you have to do the entire thing again. Like you have to watch the replay, you have to figure out what you meant with all these notes. It's going to feel like you're looking at something completely new. If you do it in the first 10 minutes, you're saving yourself so much time, and you have to put in way less effort. So it's only beneficial. Oh, another thing, sorry, I forgot. So what you can do in class so that you can continue in the first 10 minutes after the class. During the class, you can write down the timestamps. For example, your class starts at 9 a.m. You know it takes only 1 hour. So your coach tells you something important. Hey, this is a mistake. Pay attention to this word. Oh, this is how you're supposed to pronounce this word. Write down the timestamp. Oh, 9:42, I said this word. When the class is over, you can look at your notes, and your notes say 9:42. You go back to the replay, 9:42, immediately in the first 10 minutes after the class, and you say this word again. You say it correctly this time, or you repeat the same sentence correctly, and that's all you need to do. It's easy. Okay, and this is how you do less. So the next habit, another very important one, limit the number of iterations. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people do way too many iterations. What do I mean by iterations? If you practice the rhythm of English, you probably do the reading exercise. You need to read out loud. And as you read out loud and you want to send your recording to your coach, and a lot of people read the same sentence or the same paragraph way too many times. So what does it mean? And how do you know that you've done it too many times? You feel tired. You feel close to exhausted. You don't look forward to reading again, and you don't want to read again for the next week. That's when you have done too much. You've done too many iterations. Always limit the number of iterations. My number is 7. I will not do more than 7, because if I do 8, I will start feeling tired. Usually that's the case. I don't want to feel tired because I have many more things to do during the day. So trust me, it's going to feel very different for you when you know that you have only 5 iterations. So you better give it your best. When I do my workouts, I also limit myself. My workouts are between 45 and 60 minutes long. And I know that today I do not have more than 45 minutes. Trust me, I put in a different kind of effort. If I know that I have only 45 minutes, I need to give it my best effort right now. So if you know that you have only 5 iterations or only 6, and you want to make sure that every next iteration is better than the previous one, you concentrate differently. You give this exercise your full attention. You listen to yourself differently, and you actually like your effort a lot more. You like your results a lot more because you're more attentive and you're more present with yourself. You don't think about the things that don't matter because you say, okay, this is important right now. I have 2 iterations left. Okay, that's the final one. Let's concentrate. Let's do it. It feels like a game. Try it. And you're going to feel full of energy rather than exhausted after the last iteration. So don't overdo it because we're practicing. We're not supposed to submit a perfect result. Usually, people show perfect results when they're not even trying. When they're enjoying it, and when they have done it enough times and they're simply doing it again and When something sounds perfect, it usually sounds effortless. Someone who's trying way too hard is way too tense to show a perfect result. A perfect result always looks effortless, sounds effortless, and people who show perfect results, they look quite relaxed. That's why don't get into the habit of tensing up every time you need to practice. That doesn't really help you. Instead, play a game. Okay, let's see what I can do in just 5 iterations. And then listen to the final result. And tomorrow, okay, what can I do better today? How can I beat this personal record? How can I beat my own result? And if you do not have more than 30 minutes a day to dedicate to your practice, you do the same thing. You start the timer and you tell yourself, I have only 30 minutes. As soon as the timer goes off, I'm done. I'm going to stop doing whatever I'm doing. And this is the promise I give myself. And you keep your word. When you limit yourself this way, you put in a very different type of effort. The quality of your effort feels very different. And we want quality. We want to make sure that your focus is very sharp. You can do this only when your focus is sharp. Habit number 4 is simple. Remove distractions. We often can't get started with whatever we need to do simply because too many things get in the way. Our phone is buzzing all the time. Something's happening in the kitchen. You need to manage too many things at the same time. You need to create the environment for yourself in which it's easy for you to concentrate. You can also do your exercises in the kitchen or any other room. It doesn't matter as long as you're not distracted. The environment that you're creating for yourself needs to help you concentrate, not help you get distracted. Close all the other tabs that you do not need. Do not look at your social media. Do not listen to music when you study. This is the biggest distraction. People think it's helping them focus, but it's actually distracting them. Do not check social media. Make sure that you have everything you need at your desk. For example, I can't practice sitting on the couch. I need to sit at my desk. And when I practice, I sit up straight. When I record myself, I also sit up straight because it helps me put in a different type of effort. I always have a glass of water next to me when I teach because when I speak a lot, I need to drink. And these little things help me focus. Sometimes, and for many people, what they're wearing really affects how they feel during the practice. Are they going to feel comfortable? Are they going to feel confident? So what you're wearing, what's on your desk, is the window open or closed? All these things influence you more than you think. So you are responsible for creating this environment that helps you focus and concentrate. If you're wearing tight shoes, you can't focus on your practice. You're going to be thinking about the shoes all the time. And you'll be thinking, okay, when can I take them off? Instead, you want to be focusing on your exercise and on your results. So let's wrap it up. Do the things that your coach is telling you to do. That's what you prioritize. Time yourself. Limit the number of iterations. You need to know your number. It's not like I need to do less. You need to know exactly how much less. Let's say I set the timer for 40 minutes or I set the timer for 25 minutes and I do no more than 7 iterations. And remove distractions. The last one sounds easy, but it's actually quite difficult to implement because you need to experiment a lot. You need to learn a lot about yourself. What feels good for me? What room feels better for me? What helps me achieve the result? What doesn't help me achieve the result? You need to experiment and see what works and what doesn't work. I hope this helps. And remember to reflect on the results of your practice because you need to see what's working, what's not working. If it's working, let's double down on it. If it's not working, okay, what can I do the next time I do the same exercise to improve my current result? This question should be always on your mind because we understand that practice is not when we've done something one time. A practice routine is when we voluntarily choose to do the same exercise until we have achieved a different result. You know that you're going to do this exercise again. And when you do the self-evaluation part, you can ask, what can I do differently next time? And the whole point is to do something differently the next time you do the same exercise. This is how you improve fast. And to be able to do it differently, you need a good amount of self-awareness and you need to be really, really attentive to yourself. enjoy your practice, and let's practice these habits. Let's implement them. If you have any questions, please type them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them.